The Chinese dream? Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Nikki Wang in Shanghai. The 20th century was defined by the American dream, a white picket fence in the suburbs with a two-car garage. Many economists are calling this the Asian century. So what does the Chinese dream look like? We'll find out this week on Thought for China, plus our own PT Black will examine the more surprising expressions of the Chinese dream. But first, with us is Tom Doctorow, JWT's Area Director for Northeast Asia, as well as the author of books like Billions, Selling to New Chinese Consumers. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
American dreams is really related to where people were coming from, where they're going. Is there a China dream here, and who are sharing these dreams?
Well, I think there's similarities and differences. I think the two words for the American dream is money/material and also freedom. And I think in China, they also share a need for material gratification, but their ultimate objective is control. Chinese want to feel in control of their destiny. So anything material is a means to an end to help them feel like they can command what is below them. The Americans, when we have our fantasies about what we want to do in our dreamscape, it's usually horizontal. Cliche is, I want to go to a desert island and just be free. I think in China, it's vertical. I want to be up on top of things, being able to look down and see and manipulate that which is in my domain. So I think it's a different culture, so different dream.
Who are sharing these dreams?
What do you mean?
In terms of demographic, age, occupation?
Well, I think there's a hierarchy of needs. And as you are at the lower tiers of the socioeconomic pyramid, people just want security. They want, the word in Chinese is ta shi, okay, solid and reliable future. But as you start moving into the middle class and above the middle class, there's a different journey of success. So this China dream, I think, is really not just for the emerging middle class, but really for the tip of the pyramid at this point. So it's a relatively exclusive China dream. I think that it will grow as incomes grow, but still, even the most wealthy Chinese person doesn't feel completely in control because his wealth is not protected, because the civic institutions aren't there. So what money is to him or her is a way of ensuring against any uncertainty into the future. So ultimately, people want a safe, secure existence.
Are there any particular pillars for the dream?
Well, I guess...
Marriage.
Oh, pillars in that sense. Well, there's rites of passage. I mean, I think that, there is an obstacle course that you have to go through. You cannot be pursuing the dream unless you are productively engaged with society. And China has a very narrowly mandated definition of what that means. So, yes, you need to have a wife, you need to have a child, you need to form that perfect circle so that, again, you are perfectly normal. And it's only those perfectly normal people who can call themselves having achieved the dream. One word in Chinese, as we all know, is xingfu, but what xingfu means is balanced, harmonious, and in line with the order, and ultimately aligned to almost a heavenly mandate.
Are advertisers utilizing this so-called ideal Chinese dream to build affinity with their consumers?
Of course. I think that, one of the golden rules of advertising in China is that all products are a means to an end. And in the West, you often have what we call internalized benefits. Oh, this makes me feel good. Oh, I'm just enjoying this because it's so beautiful and it has intrinsic value. In China, those types of benefits tend to evaporate. They float away. Benefits are externalized. Everything has to move you forward. Now, the context in which people are moved forward differs dramatically depending on the socioeconomic tier. So a lower income person will more achieve success within a narrower social environment and with respect to, having a great marriage or having the admiration of other mothers or fathers. In middle class China, it's ultimately about achievement professionally in a broader social context, and you can transform your life more. But all products help you move forward. And that is ultimately leading to that Chinese dream of control. So this is always something that we have in our minds, is the interpretation of the Chinese dream, but making sure that it is tailored for a socioeconomic segment. The difference sometimes between Western messaging and Chinese messaging can be quite subtle. But again, key rule, products are a means to an end. So when a woman goes to a spa in the West, she goes to relax, very internalized. When a woman goes to a spa in China, she goes to recharge, right, to get her back in the game. So sometimes the difference can be subtle.
Thanks, Tom. Now here's PT Black with a few surprises about the Chinese dream.
My grandfather taught me to be skeptical of anyone promising to interpret dreams. It is a notoriously subjective topic. When marketers talk about the China dream, they see a pretty simple picture: materialism with Confucian characteristics. That means seize opportunity, manage your relationships up and down, do not question authority, and watch the wealth roll in, wealth that you will need to insulate you and your family from a very dangerous world. It's not so much a national dream as it is a national insurance policy. But there's more here. For every well-dressed, proper Confucian, there's a wild-looking Taoist hermit, someone who talks in riddles, cares about nature, and speaks truth to power. Think scraggly beards, big bellies, and drunken outbursts, a look you might be familiar with if you hang out at China's better art galleries. There's also the wise monk, stripped of family relations, who dedicates his or her life to compassion and charity. A moral force who dreams not of fast trains and crocodile loafers, but of feeding the poor and protecting the helpless. Also the passionate patriot, willing to sacrifice everything to protect China. Someone who views globalization as foreign intrusion and responds with indifference that flares into resentment. And that's the tip of the iceberg. The nation we call China is actually a multi-ethnic, multicultural, continent-spanning empire held together with little more than a national insurance policy and a very proactive police force. But as living standards stabilize, expect to see an expanded Chinese dream. It's time. So here's to the China dream of tomorrow, one that hopefully considers charity as well as Chanel.
Thanks, BT. With me now is Mary Ching's founder and creative director, Alison Mary Ching Yong, Kuno Sina, Ogilvy Mather's Chief Knowledge Officer for China, Eva Wei, a senior consultant at marketing consultancy R3. We're talking about Chinese dream today, and the American dream is really very much built on unlimited space, cheap gas, but here is a different story when resources are limited. How do you define the Chinese dream?
I think one of the key things about what I see as the China dream is the idea of progress, of having come from one place and arrived. So the notion of progress and arrival is very much part of the China dream, and I think one of you was referring to the notion of stability, because there's been so much change that now people who have achieved some kind of stability in their lives, which includes having the family, having bought a home, having stability in terms of a job, while the world has changed so much. But essentially, stability is something that I think is fundamental to the Chinese dream.
From 1980s to now, the Chinese dreams have been developed to so many stages. And for now, I think most of Chinese people, and especially the mainstream, they would love to have, if we take a mental picture, it was like in a bright and light living room, and the 3 generations living happy together and laughing, and maybe 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and decent jobs, and a stable life, and a safe life. No coal mine blast, no train collision, something like that.
Let's assume that the foundation, we all share the same basics. We have to eat, we have to sleep. And then the next phase is a little bit more, it's probably this, as you said, it's ambition, it's work, it's achievement, it's success. Success could be a degree, it could be a car, it could be a job, right? And then, I would even go as far as then there's the next layer of how to enjoy that, how to live that. It's a lifestyle. It's choosing which countries to go for your birthday, choosing who to surround yourself with. You know, you channel that kind of dream into more targeted, how am I going to achieve it?
What are some of the important milestones defining the dream?
Traditionally, I mean, for most of Chinese young people, it's like getting married and have an apartment at the same time. And traditionally, the guy's family will buy them, you know, a nice apartment, and the girl's family will decorate it and buy the car. And it's like that. But however, you know, after the new explanation of the marriage law, I think this will all change.
Having sort of looked at, you know, conceptual notions of what the dream is, of course, I think in many ways most Chinese families and individuals also think of defining that dream in very material terms. And I think there are some markers, certainly for the middle class. So, you know, I mean, to me, those markers seem to be like, you know, if you look at it in contrast with the American dream, which was the house in the suburbs with the white picket fence, I think the Chinese dream is about 140 square meter apartment, having the car, having a dog, the ability to go out, and that's because it's in a very high-rise urban kind of environment, which is true for most places. You know, picket fences and, you know, backyards are absolutely a you know, exportable sort of idea, really. But at the same time, because people are looking for, you know, to enhance the quality of life, you know, having the ability to go out on a weekend to a park, to a barbecue, you see that sort of thing completely exploding in, you know, certainly, not just in the big cities, but in smaller towns. So having, you know, the home as a base and being able to occasionally get out of that and experience different kinds of things. Sometimes it's closer home during the weekend, but then sometimes it's about international travel. I think for most of the middle class, an international trip once every 2 years is a sort of part of that dream, because it's about getting exposed to different cultures, and it's about giving an experience to the family.
The way you guys describe it, it's still very in line with the American dream, obviously given the limited resources and the constraints. Are there any defining, you know, something really different from the Chinese dream?
I mean, to me, you know, really, again, to almost put it bluntly, freedom is having a credit card with no spending limits. Yeah, and that's true when you talk to people, especially young people. You know, one whole aspect of, you know, really freedom is the amount of choices that you have.
See, I would disagree with you, and I'd say freedom is to dream. I think credit card is too restricted, you know, because that means it's materialistic. I think freedom and dreaming can be more than just materialistic. It can be a lifestyle, a belief, a passion. There's so many, I mean, I don't believe materialistic is a dream. I mean, I don't remember a dream of thinking of the car and the house. I mean, you think of the environment, but I think there's actually more to it than just a credit card with unlimited spending.
I'm almost using the credit card as a metaphor for, you know, for abilities that people would like to have. So it doesn't always have to be a physical credit card, but not being restricted in their ability to enjoy life, really. Right. You know, so the credit card becomes a sort of metaphor for that. Because, you know, if you're constantly being conscious of what your limits are, then that sort of tends to restrict people's dreams. But I think in many ways, you know, people in China, especially young people, seem to me as very optimistic about what they can achieve, what they can get out of their lives. In fact, you know, data has always shown that the Chinese people, you know, the Vietnamese are, of course, more optimistic, but Chinese people are amongst the most optimistic people in the world. So you know, the optimism is about what they can offer their children, what they can do with their own lives, and that seems to show.
If we narrow down to top tier 1 cities, middle classes, do you think they share something that's very similar in?
Well, actually, if we do some research, we can separate it into different sectors. For rural China, the farmers, they are in very, very difficult situations. What's their dreams? They want their children to get better education. Through education, they can maybe go to tier 1 or tier 2 cities and have better life. And however, I don't see that coming because I think it is some kind of misunderstanding because I don't think the economy needs more and more university students. It needs like skilled people like nurses or or babysitters, something like that. However, for the middle class, the so-called middle class, maybe in tier 1 or tier 2 cities, I think apart from the house and decent jobs, they also want a very safe society environment.
Alison, Eva, and Kuno, thank you for being on the show. Well, that wraps it up for us today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Tudou and YouTube. You can also follow us on Weibo and Twitter. See you again.